Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. As always, I'm Ari here at Korea. So we had a pretty eventful day yesterday, the conclusion of the World Series. We had a number of NBA games, some college games. So we'll get into a recap. Korea, you went either 2-0 or 1-0 and one, depending on where you got the line at for your college game. But we'll let you recap your best bets from yesterday first.
I'm not even gonna. I'm gonna save Kent State for a whole nother time because that has to be the ugliest push/win I have ever seen in my life. But we're gonna start with the Rangers money line. I told you guys the Rangers are gonna end it. They did. They got on the win. They went on 5-0. They went on to win 5-0. Won the World Series. Blah blah blah. Whatever. It was pretty. It was pretty sweat free. I mean, it was obviously a little sweaty pretty much throughout the first, I'd say 5-6 innings when Zach Allen was pretty much dealing. He was throwing 5 innings, no hit ball. Like I said, I knew he was gonna show up. I was just a little nervous on Eovaldi, and he showed up as well. I was gonna also sprinkle taking the Nerfy yesterday. I saw it at -120, but then I remembered Eovaldi, and that first inning against the Diamondbacks. I knew it was an elimination game, and I was like, I'm staying away from that. So I just took the Rangers to win. And I knew the Rangers were going to win. Obviously, they went undefeated in the postseason on the road, which is an incredible feat. 11-0, did not lose a single road game. So they pretty much just they fed off of the road environment. So, that was just a great win to see there. But Kent State, you know what? This is why I stay away from Wednesday night action, man. That was ugly. That was horrible. I don't even know what I was eating dinner. They were up 27-10. And I was thinking, oh, Kent State +4 was free. I come back. I see they come back and win, and Akron wins by 4. And I'm sitting here like, huh? What happened? So I don't even know. Like, if you got it at 4.5, congratulations, you're like me. But if you got it at 4, man, I don't even know what to tell you. You can't, like, that has to that's a great, like, for three quarters and like 8 minutes. That was a great look. That was a fantastic look. I told you guys, a visiting rested dog, and then they just collapsed. So I don't know if that's on Kent State. I don't know if it's just Wednesday night action. I don't know what it is. That has to be one of the worst beats of the year, in my opinion, in terms of college football. So I don't even know what to say. That was ugly. So I'm sorry if you guys got it a 4, but at least you got your money back. If you got a 4.5, you got a small win, but you feel like you should have been a lot more sweat free. I should have been a lot more sweat free than what it was. So Kent State, I couldn't even believe. I checked the score because I saw on Twitter that Akron came back, and I shook my head. I was like, is this college football nowadays? So I'm gonna take it as a 2-0 day. If you got it at 1 and if you got it at 4, you know what? At least you got your money back, but just don't take any more action. I'm done looking at action, man. That was horrible. So 2-0 day. MLB's done. So obviously we'll have another shift now that the MLB season is officially in the books. One down. That means obviously more of our focus is going to be, a lot more toward college football. Obviously one of our favorite sports, college basketball, starts pretty much in about a week. So we're going to be shifting to as like that's kind of the benefit of around this time of year when one sport ends, another one kind of starts right around the corner. So now that the MLB season's over, we're going to be getting into some college basketball plays as well. So look out for those. In the coming weeks, as we, get more and more into the season. But, like I said, to finish the MLB season, I finished in the positives, to kind of wrap up the season, finish in plus units. Like, that's all you really can do. I think I finished plus, 8 or 9 units in the MLB season. So, can't complain. But, great to see another MLB season kind of in the wraps, and especially in a season of a lot of news with, obviously the new pitch clock, the new stolen bases, in terms of the new base size, kind of attracting the more, excitement with the ballpark. And that's kind of, I guess, why, those two teams, I guess you can kind of say why they're in the World Series. The Rangers with the bats, in terms of, Adolis Garcia when he's healthy, Corey Seager, Marcus Simeon, Josh, I think it's Josh Lowe, Josh Jung, Nathaniel Lowe, and all those guys that they have on the Rangers in the Rangers lineup who can hit the ball well. Ezekiel Duran as well, Leone Taveras, and then you look at the Diamondbacks who have all that speed on the base path, and so I feel like when MLB really targeted what to do to make the audience grow, it was targeting more excitement, and so when you bring more long home runs and more speed, let's kind of get what you get. So I feel like the Rangers and Diamondbacks both being in the World Series, kind of plays into that factor of kind of the more excitement with baseball. But in year one of this new kind of era of baseball, it was definitely interesting to see how the game would be played. But now we ride into another off season, and hopefully no more 54%, Ari. Hopefully no more 54%.
Yeah, that's for sure. Another off season of MLB, which it goes by pretty fast usually. I mean, it's November, and by February you have teams start reporting to spring training and stuff. So it goes by pretty quickly, all in all. So I'll get on to my recap. 2-1 night. Start off with the two winners. The Rockets won pretty easily. I mean, the Hornets came back a little bit kind of in the second, third quarter. But the Rockets still won by 9, so pretty handily. It was a pretty good overall team effort. They had I think 5 guys scored at least 17 points, so pretty balanced. In this game, it was 42-41 in the fourth quarter, 83 points in the fourth quarter. So that kind of shows you the kind of, no defense, but still young excitement players that both sides have. Obviously with LaMelo and PJ Washington for the Charlotte, and then, guys like Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Sengun, with the Rockets, and of course Van Fleet and Dylan Brooks as well. So that was pretty, I wouldn't say sweat free, but for the most part, the Rockets cruised. The Jazz was a whole different story. They scored like 80 points in the first half. They were up by, I think, over 30 by halftime. Memphis just, I don't know what it is with that, but obviously it shows you how important Ja is. I mean, they're 0-5, so I'm gonna keep fading them without Ja, as I've been saying. And the Nuggets, this line turned out to be short for a reason. Obviously, Jamal Murray started 0 for 9 from the field, and Minnesota was up big by halftime. So this was kind of the opposite of the Jazz for me, where the Nuggets, Minnesota just blew a 17-point lead at halftime to Atlanta, so you can never say it's over with them, really, no matter what at halftime. But Denver made a couple of small runs to get to within 12 to 14 or so from 20-plus, but it was just too much. So good win for Minnesota there. First loss of the season for Denver, but obviously Denver's still going to be, one of the best teams in the league all season. But yeah, so 2-1 night for me in that regard.
I mean, yeah, you can't really complain on a 2-1 night. I mean, obviously, you mentioned the Rockets, in that scrappy game against the Hornets where, a bunch of young stars, not much defense, a lot of offense. And, we even saw Brandon Miller get in foul trouble early, and, that was tough to see. But, the Rockets did prevail, in the end, getting the win and obviously covering the -2.5 spread. And then you mentioned the Jazz, and that was pretty much all Utah from the get-go. You mentioned the struggling woes for the Memphis Grizzlies without Ja Morant, and it showed. I mean, Desmond Bane was their best shooter, and he was shooting, I believe, like 6 of 15 from the field, and just no consistent, dependable shooter on that for the Memphis Grizzlies in terms of their offense. We looked at this team, and we like to credit the fact that they have 2 defensive players of the year, but defense can only get you so much in the NBA in an offensive, kind of minded league now where it's all about points. So, obviously 0-5 start is kind of credited to, obviously John Morant being out for so many games with his suspension. So obviously Jazz -2 was a great look. And then obviously the Nuggets was a tough loss. They definitely struggled to shoot on the road. I believe you mentioned earlier that the Nuggets and Timberwolves, they kind of tend to play closer games. And, the Nuggets, especially in that first round series, I would say that the Timberwolves were kind of the Nuggets, I guess, toughest opponents before the finals. So they always kind of give them a little bit of a struggle. I'd say if the Suns were healthy, I'd definitely say the Suns would have given a lot more competition. But the Nuggets obviously just could not shoot the ball well. Struggled to hit some shots. Jamal Murray was really struggling yesterday. You can only do so much when your guys aren't hitting shots. So the Nuggets were down by almost 15 at half. I think they were down by more than 15. It was like almost 19 at half. It was all Minnesota all game. Just a tough look when one team's shooting the lights out and the other one's not. It's kind of the story of the game. You'll take it a nice 2-in-1 day for you as well. And then obviously just a little bit of my ladder challenge as well. Obviously I started that yesterday. If you guys saw, it was just three guys to get over their points. There were adjusted lines. I found them on DraftKings. It was Bobby Portis to get 8. And then at the 10, I also had Brandon Miller to get 10, then Benedict Mathurin to get 10. And we were so close. Obviously, Bobby Portis hit his, and Brandon Miller was a little bit sweaty when he got in foul trouble, but then he hit his, and then Benedict Mathurin finished with 8. It was just a really bad game for the Pacers. They just were getting the light shot out at pretty much on the road against the Celtics. It was pretty much by the third quarter. They put in all the subs. They were down by 30. It was already over. The Celtics won by 50. And we only needed was 2 more points from Benedict Mathurin. So it was just tough to see. But it's okay. We're going to come back with another play today. I will be posting that later on Twitter. Once again, that is AKP Sports Talk. That is our Twitter, guys. I'll be posting pretty much right after this video, around the time this video goes live. I will be posting all 4 plays. It'll be probably around minus or plus 100, somewhere in that range. I'm going to be taking the guys only on points for the first few days of the ladder challenge. I don't want to be taking rebounds or anything, just because it's a little bit of a funky stat. Sometimes they'll credit a rebound to someone, but then they'll credit it to someone else, and same for assists and steals and all that stuff. So we're just going to be taking guys to score. So you can find that on AKP Sports Talk. I will be posting those tomorrow on Twitter today. And then obviously tomorrow I'll be going a little bit more in depth about my plays for tomorrow as well. But don't forget to look out for those. But just want to do a little bit of a recap from yesterday about those 3. Just a tough scene. We had Bobby Portis with 8+ points, and it was looking a little bit sweaty in the first half. He had 5, but then he finished with 10. And then as I said, Brandon Miller, the second overall pick, he had 2 points and 3 fouls in the first half, and we were thinking, oh no, he's going to be the one that sells it. He comes around and he ends up with 10 points. And then Benedict Mathurin, just a horrible game for the Pacers. They have no defense. They lose by 50. He only gets 8 points. They sub him out in the third. Just tough looks. But, we're going to come back today. Like I said, yesterday was just a trial run because, I said we were going to as soon as the MLB season ended. So I'm glad, obviously now that the MLB season has officially ended, now that we can finally focus on the NBA, on the ladder challenge. And even though it's a small slate tonight, only 4 games for the NBA tonight, we're definitely going to be looking for some guys to score in those 4 games later today. So don't forget, please go to the Twitter. That is AKP Sports Talk right there down below, and you can find the whole ladder challenge. It'll be probably 3 to 4 legs just on their points. And it'll be probably around plus or minus 100, depending on somewhere in that range. Just trying to, kind of get that base. We're only throwing a unit on there. So nothing too crazy, nothing too much. Just trying to see how we get going in the first trial runs of this ladder challenge. So that's going to be what I'm going to be featuring pretty much almost every day on our weekly videos. And also on the weekends, now that we are obviously, winding down with baseball and, obviously now kind of focusing on, college football and the NBA and obviously the NFL, along with college basketball right around the corner. So, just a little bit of shifting content now, but that's okay. But, the ladder challenge will definitely be a lot of fun. So if you guys do tail with me, obviously, this is just for fun. We're not putting any serious money on it, just a little, maybe a few bucks. But obviously the point of it is to grow your money and, keep doubling every time you go. So, we're obviously just going to put 1 unit on. So maybe if that's $10, $1, $5, whatever your unit size is, we're just putting 1 unit on it. And then we're hopefully going to double that. And then the next day we're going to be doubling and keep growing and hopefully keep growing until we make it all the way to the top. So We're going to start with the ladder challenge today. That'll be posted on AKP Sports later in a little bit. But Ari, I know you got some basketball today, even though there's probably not that much. But we're going to get into that later because we have an ugly football game to talk about. And it's the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tennessee Titans, obviously Thursday Night Football. And, it's an ugly play. It's an ugly game, but here are my best bets pretty much from the whole day. I'm going to give you a whole day's look here because obviously we have college football today. We have NBA. We have one NFL game. So here are my best bets for today. Excuse me. First, we're going to go travel to Lubbock. I'm taking Texas Tech. I'm taking the Red Raiders to cover that 3-point spread against TCU. Look, TCU is a different team this year. Obviously, week one, they played Colorado in that big game where it was Colorado's kind of, awakening party where, Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders and all those guys, pretty much were just, balling on that TCU defense and, kind of exposed TCU as kind of a fraudulent team just because they weren't really as good as they were last year in terms of, how well their offense worked together and obviously how well their defense clicked with, but now obviously they lost a lot of those guys and the talent is not there. And, head coach Sonny Dykes, he can only do so much with such a limited team. And even though they do have a great, backfield, I do think this Texas Tech team at home, in a big rivalry game, I do think they do get the job done. And I like the -3 spread for the Texas Tech Red Raiders today at home. And then you look at this, when you look at Texas Tech, obviously 3-5 on the year, kind of struggling throughout this season, but they've had some tough losses. They come off a tough loss against, I believe they played BYU last week, so it was a tough loss for them. But they come back in this spot. I believe that line has pretty much been the same all week. I do think this TCU team, is a little overhyped in my opinion. Obviously, they 4-4 on the year, not as dominant as a lot of people, I guess, were hoping for or expecting. Obviously, they came in, as a top-ranked team, and last week they got their, I'm gonna keep it real, they got their butts kicked by Texas Tech, by K-State. They lost 41-3. I mean, how do you bounce back in that spot? Obviously, it's a tough situation. And, even though Texas Tech does not have the greatest offense, I think they're more reliant on their defense. Meanwhile, TCU, they do rely more on their offense. And, in that kind of game, I do like the home team. And I do like not only do I like the home team, I do like the team with the better defense. I think TCU, I think Texas Tech, defensively are a little better than the Horned Frogs. So I do like Texas Tech to cover the -3 at home. I believe that line has been there all week, so I do like Texas Tech to cover. And then obviously going out to Duke, I like against Wake Forest, I like Duke to cover the -5.5. That line has gone up to 6, and I'd still take it at 6. I think this is a great bounce back spot for a Duke program, obviously, who come off a really embarrassing loss on the road against Louisville, got shut out 28-0. Look, it was ugly. They could not produce an offense. Obviously, Riley Leonard, he's kind of been the main star guy for Duke, obviously, this year. And, he had a really bad game. He struggled out the gate. They had to bench him for a little bit. But, I think it was just one of those games where, it's just ugly, just you throw it away, dump it down, flush it down the toilet. You come back the next week and you perform a lot better. And I think this is a great spot for him. I like him. And the Blue Devils to cover the 6.5 spread. I think it even went up to 7 in this recording. So I think it's just a sign that telling that I think it's going to be. I think the Duke Blue Devils do cover the spread. When you look at this game, right? You mentioned Duke's defense, and Duke's obviously one of the better defensive teams in not only in the conference but in all of college football. They're only allowing 15 points a game, and Wake Forest, their defense is a lot worse than their offense, and their offense doesn't really move down the field that much. It kind of depends more on their pass game, but their pass game doesn't really do much as well. So Wake Forest is definitely, I'd say, one of the more luckier teams to be 4-4 right now, just in terms of who they've played. They haven't even gotten above 40 points once all season, and obviously after getting beat down last week by FSU in a game where you couldn't even move the ball down your field, I don't even think you're going to be doing that much against a Duke team that thrives defensively. So I like Duke and Texas Tech, both defensive teams, to cover those three, to cover their spreads tonight. Duke If right now I think it's all the way up to -6.5 to 7. I'd still take it up there, but I'd stop at 7 just because that line has. If it's going up to 7.5, then I don't know if Duke is 7.5 points better than Wake Forest. I think that line may be a little too big, but right now 5.5 to 6 is a great line. I also like Texas Tech -3 as well, and then obviously on Thursday Night Football, ugly game between between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, this is Will Levis's first career road start, so that's why I'm taking his interceptions. That's why I'm taking his over half in an interception tonight. I think that this is obviously you played your last game at home against the Falcons, and it was your first start. You were balling 19 of 29. Not some of the cleanest throws that he's made, but he's a rookie. You kind of expect him to make some ugly throws and some, oh my gosh, why are you making that kind of throw? But tonight against the Steelers defense, it's a road game. It's a Thursday night. It's going to be one of those Pittsburgh Steelers games where it's just going to be ugly, ground, just physical game. I don't really expect Will Levis to have that much of a great game. I expect him to struggle today, especially on the road in this spot. I do think he's going to get picked off once. I think Minka Fitzpatrick is not playing today. I don't know his health status, but I believe he's still out. So even though with him out, you can take anyone at the front, whether it's T.J. Watt just tipping it at the line, falling into one of the hands of the other linebackers or whatnot. I still like Will Levis to throw an interception today. He's going to get a lot of pressure up front, especially from a Pittsburgh Steelers defense that loves to force pressure, obviously. So I do like Will Levis to maybe make a hurried throw or, some way, somehow fall into the hands of the defense. So I like his over interceptions today. And then Deontay Johnson, I saw his lineup go up to 5.5 now. And, I take it. I'm not taking more than that. So if it does go down, I would take it over 4.5. But, at the same time, over 5.5 is a little bit of a stretch considering, he's had the targets, but he hasn't had the receptions in the past few weeks. Obviously, coming back from injury, in the most recent weeks, he has been targeted. And I think it was his most recent game. He got targeted, I believe, 14 times. Caught the ball for 8 yards, 8 receptions for 85 yards last week. I believe it was against the Rams, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, against the Jags. Excuse me, against the Jags. That was the week before, yeah. Excuse me. They played the Jags last week at home. Obviously, the Jags are not the greatest secondary, but, especially in that spot, with him in the slot, I feel like Tennessee, what they like to do, they like to force pressure and kind of stop the run game. And that's why I'm also avoiding anything Najee Harris. Obviously, the Titans defense is very, very known to pretty much stopping the run at all costs. So that's why I'm avoiding anything that has to do with Najee Harris today. And I do like Deontay Johnson. I feel like him kind of being, coming back now is a safety blanket for Kenny Pickett. Whether it's over the middle or whatnot, I found it, and targeting him 14 times, especially against the Jaguars defense, I feel like it's kind of telling that maybe that relationship is starting to grow back again. So I do like Deontay Johnson. If it's at 5.5, I would maybe avoid it. But if it goes down to 4.5, if it is on 4.5 in some other books, I would parlay that with maybe Will Levis, because I know on some books it's very juiced to -150 or something like that, and I know that's kind of where Will Levis's line is right now for his interception. So if it does go down to 4.5, then I would take Deontay Johnson and Will Levis on maybe a little same game parlay right there. But if it does not, then I may take Will Levis with this game to go under as well in the same game parlay, or Tennessee Titans team total as well. I don't think they score that much today. I think they go under as well as a nice little pivot in case those don't hit for you. But then finally, I'm taking Kenny Pickett. I think this is a game script where he's going to be throwing the ball a lot more, like I said, because the Tennessee Titans, they know how to stop the run a lot better against the Jags. Than the Jags. And in this spot, I do like Kenny Pickett to be throwing the ball a lot more. So I am taking his over 31.5 pass attempts. The line is at -105 right now on DraftKings. I think this is a game where we're going to be seeing Kenny Pickett throw the ball a lot more, just because obviously in this spot the Tennessee Titans, obviously they've known how to stop the run. I mean, obviously Bijan Robinson didn't really play that much, but at the same time, they did kind of stop the run last week against Atlanta, and they pretty much stopped the run in terms of who they've played, and I really don't like Najee Harris in this spot. Najee has kind of always struggled to, I guess, establish himself as a runner this year. We've seen it throughout Pittsburgh in terms of their offensive struggles. So I feel hopefully Matt Canada is not doing anything dumb and actually knows how to pass the ball because in terms of him, in terms of offense, running a very pass heavy offense because obviously, the Tennessee Titans they don't have the greatest secondary. They're known for their front their front seven more instead of their back seven. So maybe targeting your favorite guys like George Pickens and Deontay Johnson, whether it's there for receiving yards or receptions. That's why I'm on Deontay Johnson is over receptions. I'm also on Kenny Pickett. I feel like he's going to be throwing the ball a lot more tonight. So those are my plays. If I had to lean for tonight in terms of the Thursday night football game, I am leaning toward the full game under and the Titans to cover. I just feel like it's going to be one of those just ugly Thursday night games where we just hope that it's already Sunday because it's going to be bad, especially with two struggling quarterbacks. I mean, I wouldn't say struggling, but we haven't really seen obviously much of Will Levis in his one start, and then Kenny Pickett we've only seen for about a year now. A lot of people have made his judgments about him, so it's not going to be the prettiest game offensively, but I still feel like Kenny Pickett can pass the ball, is going to pass the ball a lot. I feel like Deontay Johnson can get his receptions, and I like Will Levis to throw an interception to the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So I'm hoping for a 5-0 card. I hope it's I doubt it's going to be, but we're hoping for a 5-0 card. Hoping no more stinky college football plays like Kent State last night, and hopefully we go 3-0 with our player props in the NFL. But Ari, I know you got some picks for not only tonight's NFL game, but obviously the NBA mini slate. What do you got for your best bets on this Thursday?
Yeah, I don't have much tonight. NFL wise, I'm kind of with you on Levis, and I think he's going to struggle a little bit more against Pittsburgh secondary. And so I'm on Derrick Henry in both the rushing and receiving tonight. Um, it hasn't been it's kind of weird with Derrick Henry because it hasn't been like a bad season for him. Like he still looks pretty good, but he hasn't really had really any of his vintage like long touchdown runs that we're kind of used to. But I mean, he's still averaging like 4.5 yards per carry, and he's coming off of his first 100-yard game since week 4. So I guess it's just like he hasn't had any of like his huge runs or huge games, I guess. But I mean, we saw him rush for 101 last week with Levis, 97 the week before against the Ravens, or I guess 2 weeks before because they had their bye week between then. But we saw him kind of find his groove back again last week. And the Steelers are like bottom 10 in rushing yards allowed per game. I think it's like 6th or 7th most per game in terms of average per game. So I like Derrick Henry here, and I think we're going to see T.J. Watt and that pass rush get to Levis a little bit more as well than we saw Atlanta get to him because he had a clean pocket from it seemed like all game against Atlanta when he found Hopkins 3 times down the field. So I think he's going to find the pressure a little bit more, and I think you could see Spears see some action in the passing game as well out of the backfield. But I like Derrick Henry to catch a couple of passes and get at least 12 receiving yards. I think he could go more, or he could get more. But those are my 2 plays. I also wouldn't be against going alting with Derrick Henry like 80 or 90 plus rushing yards as well tonight. Plus money. I think he could get 100 plus again. I'm kind of with you in terms of leading Titans to cover in the under, but I don't think I'm going to actually be on it. I mean, the under is so low. It's like 36.5 right now, which obviously it's low for a reason. Obviously, I think it's going to be a low scoring game, but it's just hard to bet a number that low because it takes like so much to, for a number to actually go that low. I mean, it could be like a 20-13 game, I guess, something like that could go under, but it feels like everything has to go right for a score to be that low in the end. So I'm probably going to stick to props more in this game, mainly with these two plays. And then NBA, the only play that I really like tonight is the Magic. They're heading to Utah. It's a 1-point spread, so it's basically a pick 'em. I just kind of like how the Magic match up with Utah. You have Franz Wagner with Markkanen. You have Paolo with John Collins. Cole Anthony or Suggs Fultz with Colin Sexton. I just like Orlando's depth more overall. I mean, they have I think 6 guys averaging double figures, so they don't really rely on one guy. Whereas Utah's, mostly Markkinen. Then you have some big games from Clarkson and stuff, but I just like what we've seen from the Magic so far, both defensively and then just their balance offensively. Um, it's in Utah, which is sometimes it's tough to play in Utah for some teams. But I like Orlando here. What I've seen from them, kind of top to bottom, not playing more team ball, I guess you could say. It's mainly been Wagner as their leading scorer for most part, but we haven't seen a big game from Paulo. It could be tonight. We've seen some games from Suggs, from some big shots from Suggs, Cole Anthony. So I think this is more of a play, just liking what I've seen from the Magic so far. Utah, I was on them yesterday. They had the big win at home, but this will also be a tougher test against Orlando. So yeah, Derrick Henry pretty much both the ways and potentially even alternate 80, 90, 100 plus yards on the ground as well as receiving. And then Magic money line, what's basically a pick 'em against Utah.
I like that card, Ari. I like it a lot. You mentioned Derrick Henry. You mentioned Will Levis and how he's going to struggle today. I agree with you. I think he's going to struggle in this road environment. It's against the Steelers defense. That does like to get quarterback, and obviously you mentioned they have a safety blanket behind them, and Derrick Henry, who is pound for pound one of the best running backs in football, who is now, as you mentioned, kind of starting to get his stride back. Had his first 100-yard rushing game since week 4 last week, so kind of starting to get his stride back. And so I feel like taking his over rushing and maybe even taking out his alternate rushing yards at 80, 90, even plus that, is definitely for plus money as a smart play. I think he's gonna be the focal point of that offense for the Steelers tonight against a team that just struggles to stop the run. For the Titans against the Steelers, obviously against the Steelers defense that struggles against the run. I also do like Derrick Henry out the backfield, to get over 12 receiving yards as well. I think Will Levis, whether it's pressure in his face, dumping down the ball to Derrick Henry and him just taking it upfield, just for whether it's an 11 or 12-yard gain, whether it's or whatever, or just a collection of receptions to encompass 12 yards. And I feel like that's a great line for him. So I like both of those. And you mentioned the Magic. I feel like that's a great spot for them. Obviously, it's a tough situation. Obviously, going to Utah, no one wants to play in Utah, obviously, with the elevation and all that stuff. But I do like them. I do like the Magic in this spot. Obviously, you mentioned it's a pick 'em, but you mentioned this. I feel like this is a breakout game for Paolo and Jalen Suggs. And most of that Magic team that a lot of people have been calling a dark horse. Maybe playing team in the East. So I do like the Magic on the money line in this pick 'em spot right now. Minus probably about minus 110. But obviously, mostly a pick 'em. I saw the spread right now at 1, so it's probably around minus 115, around minus 120 in that range. So here we go. That's the full card. We're going back to my plays in a little bit. I had Texas Tech -3, obviously, and Duke -5.5, all the way up to 6. I've seen the line go up to 6.5 to 7. I would take it all the way up to there. I would stop at there just because, obviously, I don't like that touchdown hook right there at 7.5. So I think Duke can. I think Duke at -6 is a great number if you can get it there on some books. And then Deontay Johnson, I've seen his line go up to 5.5. So maybe you take his alt reception at 4, and then you pair him with Will Levis. 5+ receptions, when you pair it with Will Levis to throw an interception for a little same game parlay. Those are my 2 favorite leans of the day, along with Kenny Pickett in terms of his pass attempts. I feel like it's just a negative game script for Najee Harris in terms of a good Titans run defense against a struggling run offense for the Steelers on the season. So I feel like the Kenny Pickett can throw the ball about 32 times on the afternoon. And then obviously Ari's 3 picks. He likes Derrick Henry, obviously, tonight. I feel like I agree with him there. In a game script where I feel like Will Levis is going to struggle in this first road start. You have a good safety blanket behind you and Derrick Henry out of Alabama. So I feel like him being not only on the ground, but obviously in the air, I feel like his receiving and rushing yards are a good play, taking the over. And the Magic on the money line in Utah tonight pretty much in a pick 'em right now. Orlando is a 1-point favorite currently on some books. But that's going to do it for our full card today. Obviously, tomorrow we're going to have a full day of NBA. Obviously, the first day of the in-season tournament. Oh, no. I don't know. Whatever. But Obviously, we're going to have our best bets for the weekend as well. Since tomorrow is Friday, we'll have our best bets for Saturday, which is our college football plays. And we'll have our best bets for Sunday, which is obviously our NFL plays. So tomorrow's going to be a loaded day. We'll have our NFL, NBA, and college football. You can find everything down below on our Twitter, AKP Sports Talk. And also this Saturday, we will be having a special. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know if you follow the English Premier League that much, but since I do, I'll pull together a little parlay for us again. We're not going to be leaving on Man United anymore. Trust me, no more Man United. They're not going to screw us anymore. So, don't forget that's going to be coming up this weekend. But that's been Ari. I'm Korea. We will see you guys tomorrow for our big weekend episode. We will be going through the NBA slate for the night, along with our college football and NFL picks, for Saturday and Sunday. But that's Ari. I'm Korea. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out, guys.